So my name is Brady. I'm a rocket engineer for my normal job. However, I'm getting into this AI automation stuff and thought I'd make a YouTube channel and just show people how to build stuff. So let us get into it. I'm going to show you. So for Anti-Gravity, this is an IDE, integrated development environment. Kind of some different ways you can run Claude, right? So you can run Claude in the application that you just download from Claude AI. That's kind of the simplest but also most limited. So you can give it access to different folders, but especially like the coding and the agent, there are some limitations to it because it's not actually running, with full permissions with access to your computer. So another way to run it is inside of terminal or command line, right? You can do this on Mac, Linux, Windows, whatever you want. It's just the command line interface. When Mac is called terminal. That's definitely the fullest version, but it's kind of clunky as far as like, can you see other folders, other files in your working directory? So there's something kind of in between, right? So there's something that combines the, what do you want to call it? It combines the functionality of the command line with the ease of use of the Claude application that you can download. So the two most popular ones are Visual Studio Code, which is made by Microsoft, and this is Anti-Gravity IDE by Google. As of the time of this video, you got to make sure to actually download Anti-Gravity IDE because Google just separated some applications. So you have Anti-Gravity and you have Anti-Gravity IDE, whereas before they were combined. So if you download Anti-Gravity IDE, make sure it's the IDE. All you got to do is come in here to your extensions. New to making these videos, so totally gonna run into those. You just on the menu bar, come to extensions, and all you gotta do is type in Claude Code. Now you want to make sure you download the right one, and it's this one that has 21 million views downloads, and is the official plugin. You don't want to download one of these other ones because they're from third parties. You don't know exactly what they're going to do. All you got to do is download this. I've already done it. Once you download it, it's going to appear here in your menu bar. And all you got to do is we're first going to set our folder, right? So you'll see I've got lots of projects here. What I do is I keep a projects folder on my drive, but it's not inside my iCloud drive or my OneDrive. Most of my projects, like 95% of them, are going to live here. And the reason you want to do that is because anytime you're doing any type of coding, you want version control. And the most popular kind of industry standard for version control is through GitHub. And so GitHub, you could literally make 3,000 changes, right? And it's going to track all those changes. So anytime you have a working product, you're going to essentially be saving that version so that when you go in and make changes and you break something, you can always revert back to the version that worked. Since Claude can debug a lot of it. The problem with version control is the way it's set up, it conflicts with things like OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive, Apple iCloud, or Google Drive. Just the way the automatic saving happens in those cloud-based folders, it messes with the version control from GitHub. So most of my projects that are code dependent are living in this projects folder. So you'll see it's literally on my hard drive, right? It's not backed up to the cloud in the typical sense of like iCloud or OneDrive or Google Drive. It is backed up to the cloud in the sense that I am these changes into GitHub, which means I could be on any device and I could issue a pull request to GitHub on that device, and it'll update everything automatically for me. And this is the way that large teams work, right? They work with GitHub, and this is how they work. They're pushing and pulling at this directory online, which is called a repository. That's where they're going to live. So the projects folder and, start making folders in here. So we're going to go over a vibe coded app today. My friend gave me an interesting idea, and I just want to show you how I'm going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to create a new folder. So this vibe coded app is essentially going to be an audiobook reader. And my friend gave me some interesting ideas for this that we're going to go over. Maybe a product like this already exists. I don't know, but he has a bunch of EPUBs, and he essentially wants to import them into an app. The app will be able to read them to him, the books, and he could, while he's driving, he could say, mark that or something, and it'll go ahead and mark 15 seconds before, 15 seconds after, and it'll keep a running tab of all your marks so that you can mark the interesting stuff on your drive. Right. And then I'm going to open that folder here. So this is our working directory. So our Claude, like all of our context and stuff for the audiobook reader, is going to live inside here. So to start your Claude instance, you click Claude on the left menu bar, and then you click New Session. And there's nothing here, but it's going to start showing files as we start building stuff. And I have the Claude Max subscription, and so I'm just going to stick with Claude. So now the first thing you want to choose your model, right? So switch model. I'm going to use Opus 4.8 because I have the tokens to do that with the Max plan. You can also, if you have the Pro plan, you probably want to go with the default, which is Sonnet 4.6. And I really don't use Haiku 4.5 that much, but it's because in my tasks, I think the time that the model is to think extra over Haiku is worth it. In my work, I don't really need, second-based answers. If it takes an extra 20 or 30 seconds and it's using a better model and can come up with a better answer, then that's fine with me. So I'm going to use Opus. Just, if you need to be token efficient, go ahead and use Sonnet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Shift-Tab. And you see this box change from orange to white. Then I'm going to press Shift-Tab again, and it's going to go in blue plan mode. From what I've read and the documentation and stuff. Plan mode will already use less tokens than the full execution mode, but if you're really detailed in telling it to make you a plan, and you make a real good, efficient plan, then you're going to use less tokens over your whole project, right? So, which you'll see here. Here you can use the microphone button and just speak, which is what I would recommend if that's what you have rather than typing. Another option you can do is you can download, at least for macOS, you can download Whisper, W-I-S-P-R, I think is how it's spelled. And it actually uses AI to interpret your here. This just dictates it word for word. Hi Claude, I am working on a project. It is called Audiobook Reader. This was a project idea that my friend gave to me. And, let me kind of describe it to you. So my friend says he really likes to listen to audiobooks on his drive. At home, he loves to read, so he downloads tons and tons and tons of EPUB book files. What he would like to do is have an app that he can import his EPUB, and it'll read to him as an audiobook while he's driving. And one of the kind of unique functionalities that he wants is that while he's driving, he could have his phone near and he could give it a command, say mark that, or maybe we say Claude, mark that. I'm not sure. The idea is it would go ahead and mark a window section in that book. At that point in time, it would go from the previous 15 seconds to the next 15 seconds. So it'd have a 30-second window where it is marking, that important or interesting point. And then later, you can go back and actually add those marks that you made in the EPUB folder. Or maybe you have a folder with a list of everywhere you've marked in the book. but it would just be easy to go back and click on that. Maybe we can add a functionality in here where it can be customized by the user. It doesn't have to be plus or minus 15 seconds. The user could choose plus or minus 20, plus or minus 25, plus or minus 30 seconds, something like that. Anyways, you'll go through, you'll highlight that, and then the user could always go and edit those highlights because you're probably going to get the right region of time and the region of words, but you might not be getting exactly the words they want. They'll be able to go, add highlights around it or subtract some of the highlights you've done and customize it. Let's see, it should save into the EPUB for sure. Maybe we just start with that. So that's kind of the plan that we want to do. I want you to be as detailed as possible in this plan. I want you to use your max thinking capability. Don't worry about taking extra time to just make a really well thought out plan. Then what I want you to do in that plan is I want you to write down every detail of the plan in a .md file that you're going to save in this working directory. And this will be kind of our source of truth as we work through this project. Ask me any and all questions that you need. I'm here to act as a project manager for you, so I can answer those questions. But please come up with this plan to develop this app, and we're going to be doing it on iOS. Okay, so guess what? I've not run into that, but it looks like it may have been too long. I've never given it that long of a thing in Wisp, so that kind of stuff. Let me try again. Hi Claude, my friend gave me an interesting idea for an application that we want to develop for iPhones. This application is going to be an audiobook reader. My friend has he likes to listen to audiobooks, but at home he likes to read the books. So what he would like to do is take his EPUB files and be able to upload them into an application. And that application can use AI to read the books to him on his way to work. When an interesting thing comes through, is spoken over the app on his way to work, he would like the ability to say something like, "Hey Claude, mark that," or "Claude, mark that," or "mark that," or something like that. I really would need your advice here. It'll do a highlight in the book of the words that are spoken at that point between minus 15 seconds and plus 15 seconds from that point. This actually should be a condition that the user can modify. So instead of plus or minus 15 seconds, it could be plus or minus 20, plus or minus 25, and so on. It's going to aggregate all of the marks, those highlights, into, like a summary page or just an option in the menu bar that you can click on and see like highlights, and it'll give you a summary list of all the highlights, and you can choose which one you want to click on. They'll be able to click on that, and then they'd be able to actually go in and modify the highlight. Maybe you got too many words in that highlight, maybe you didn't get enough. But the important idea is that we can automate this thing where someone wants to learn on their way to work through audiobooks, through EPUB files that they already have, and they want to be able to mark it using their voice. Create a detailed plan for me. Use max thinking capability. Don't worry about the time. Once you're done creating that detailed plan, write everything down in a markdown file and save it in this working directory so that we can have that as a source of truth moving forward. You do not need to proceed with any of the plan yet. I just want you to make the plan. Please ask me any and all questions that you have. Okay, see, that time it worked. I tried to make it a little less wordy. It still comes out kind of wordy, but because I'm not sure why it didn't the very first time. So anyways, AI is also kind of changing the way we interface with computers, right? Because to type that all out, if you believe what the Whisper promotion stuff says, is 4 times faster. The speech is 4 times faster than typing. It's really cool because you can take pauses and it's going to note those pauses and it's not a problem. You can mess up on the words you're saying and it can autocorrect them, right? Now, I guess maybe somewhere in there you could get a couple words that you don't want, or maybe a meaning you don't want, but that's gonna come out as you're working through the plan. Sorry about that. Again, this is raw, this is off the cuff, this is not pretty, this is just kind of like my first video, and I'm just showing you how you can vibe code an app with Claude. And, really you can use Gemini, you can use Codex. There's plenty of tools, and those are just big three, but there's plenty of other ones that you can use as well. So it's thinking, let's see, the directory is empty, it's green, no existing code. Now it's going to ask me some questions. I always like to say, ask me any and all questions you have, I'm here for you, something like that, because I really do want it to interface with me and make a well-planned, well thought out and detailed plan. So TTS stands for text-to-speech engine. So which text-to-speech engine should read the books? This is the single biggest architectural decision. It affects voice quality, offline readability, on a commute, and cost. Let me go through the options, right? So on-device, Apple's AV speech synthesizer, free, fully offline, zero latency, and gives precise word-by-word timing needed for the plus or minus 15-second highlight. Voices are decent, but less natural than Claude AI. Best for a reliable MVP. That stands for minimum viable product. Cloud Neural AI, so that's 11 Labs, OpenAI, Azure TTS, very natural, lifelike voices, but cost money per book, can be several dollars for a full novel. I mean, that's probably more than several dollars. For 11 Labs, their creator plan, which is like $22, gives you like 120,000 tokens or something like that. Library, generate natural cloud audio plus word timestamps, then cache on device for best quality and offline, but the most complex to build and still incurs per book generation cost. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to click other, and I want you to say like, can you better advise me between option 2 and option 3? Or pros and cons. Could you give me estimated cost? Could you give me estimated cost for some well-known books just to have a basic understanding? For example, what would Harry Potter 1 cost in option 2 and option 3? Sorry, let me give a pause here. Okay, I am back. Sorry for the screaming. Mark trigger. Okay, so how should the user trigger a mark while listening? Safety while driving and battery privacy trade-off differ a lot. Hands-free wake word, always on-device wake word engine, fully hands-free, safest while driving. It requires continuous mic and acoustic echo cancellation so the mic doesn't hear the TTS itself. More engineering risk. Physical tap. Tap an AirPod stem, a CarPlay lock screen button, or a Siri shortcut to mark. Simpler, reliable, no always on mic, better battery and privacy, slightly less seamless than pure voice. Ship the tap method first, add the wake word as an option. Best end state, more work. So as I'm evaluating these, I think, what I actually want to do is hands-free wake word, right? But then it says continuous mic, right? Which means there could be some privacy things. How about this? Why don't we build function, but the user gets to decide which one they want in their settings? Because there's a privacy issue with the hands-free wake word because there's an always-on mic, but that's the safest way to drive. Then physical tap, we can put in some shortcuts for it. Technically, that's still pretty safe if you just tap your CarPlay or an AirPod stem, or maybe you hit a button or something. So it's slightly worse for driving, but it's better for privacy. So why don't we build it for both, but the user gets to decide which one they want in their settings. Okay. Then we'll move to platform. What technology platform should this be built on? Native iOS or Flutter Cross. So I'm not going to read the descriptions here, but Swift is going to give us the best iOS product. It comes at a disadvantage though, because if we build this for Android, we also have to build this in Android. And if we build this, and I'm sorry, I know the programming language starts with I think a K for Android. It's not called Android. The problem is here, if we do it in Flutter, we're only going to have to keep one code base for both apps. So you're going to change the app for Samsung and iOS at the same time, but it's not going to look polished in iOS or Android, right? So it's a pros and cons thing. You have to decide what you want to do. I'm all about building good apps though, right? And so I'm going to go, my thinking on this is not necessarily what's the least amount of work, it's how can I build the best product. And so building the best product for me is going to be coding it in the languages that it's supposed to be coded in. What's the goal for this app? Personal use or real product? This decides whether we build accounts, cloud sync, and payment. Personal first, commercial later. Maybe it turns out to be a good product. I don't know. So here we go. It's just going to evaluate those. It should give me a little bit more on that very first task that we put in for the speech engine. It's just going to think. So I built out actually a plan for the editing of this video. So just so you know, I'm not doing any personal editing. I'm not paying anyone to do editing. I literally just built a workflow for AI to do it for me. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. So anyways, again, just raw, off the cuff. Native iOS, personal first, both triggers selectable in settings, noted. Now let me give you the real cost analysis. Yes, that's what I was hoping for. Okay. Yeah, so if you see this, right, if we have 11 labs do it, no one's going to purchase our app. No one's going to pay $90 to get Harry Potter 1 in audiobook when you can just buy it. So it's got to be probably the cheapest thing here, which is Azure Neural. I mean, like The Hobbit's a huge book, right? And I guess Games of Thrones, holy cow, $26, but that must be for the whole series, I guess. So 77,000 words, 450,000 characters. Here's what a few books would cost. Word level timestamps. I'm just reading. The plus or minus 15-second highlight feature needs to know exactly which word was spoken at each moment. Azure, Poly, and 11 labs return word timestamps natively. So that's the first two options and the last one. Okay. OpenAI text-to-speech does not. You'd have to run the audio through a separate alignment step. More cost, complexity. That alone rules OpenAI down for us. 11 labs is 10 to 12 times the cost of Azure and Poly for the same book. For a voice that's better but not 10 times better for a person to justify per book. My honest recommendation. Build the highlight marking pipeline on Apple's free on-device voice first. Then add option 3 with Azure Poly as a premium natural voice upgrade. Oh, that's actually really good. Like if we're going to, make this a commercial product, then we can essentially have kind of a free version to bring people into the app. And then, 1 to 2% get converted to the paid app. That's what a lot of apps do. Apple's on-device TTS is free, fully offline, and gives perfect live word timing callbacks. It proves out the entire mark that, highlight, edit, summary. So that's going to give us a working product, a minimum viable product. Once the mechanics work, swapping in a natural cloud voice via option 3 is an additive feature, not a rewrite. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Let's build in options in the settings for the user to decide. It could be by book, so some books could be Apple and others could be an AI engine, but the user gets to decide, right? We would essentially just maybe charge them a little markup on that, or I'm trying to think, because it's not free, so what I would probably do is just charge a markup on the book. But the user gets to decide. Let's build out Apple for now. But please put in the plan that after we have an MVP, minimum viable product, we want to go back and add this in as a feature. Which is, this is very similar to, okay, sorry, it had, go straight to option 3, skips a hybrid cloud from day 1. Yeah, so Okay, I also want to say we should use, yeah. We will use Azure Neural because it's the cheapest one, right? Like this is the reason people are putting their EPUBs on this app is so that they get a free audiobook essentially. Well, I don't know it's free. They probably, they could have paid for the EPUB, but they don't. I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to want to pay an additional cost for that. But, and I think an audiobook for Harry Potter 1 probably costs more than $6, so this could be a little cheaper. But we're also going to have these extra features in here that, for them to be able to mark down. So we will use Azure Neural for the premium option over the Apple TTS. Okay, AI features. Beyond reading, highlighting, if you want any IA, LLM, that stands for large language model powered features in the highlights view. And so I'm just going to read them. Smart boundary snap. When you mark, AI snaps the highlight to clean sentence paragraph boundaries instead of cutting mid-sentence. I think we definitely want that one. AI highlight summaries, generate short AI summary for title. That one sounds good too. Export, share, export highlights to Markdown, Notion, Readwise, or Share Sheet, so marked passages flow into your notes. That's pretty cool too. I'm just going to say, let's do all of them. Give me more ideas too, if you have them. Okay, submit. Yep, just going to let it think now. I guess now I'm thinking a little bit better. Anytime we call an LLM, it's going to cost us money through an API. Right, so that's going to have to be built in. Ask the book, mark that. What did that mean? Then voice note on a mark that. This connects to X. That's actually kind of cool. Space repetition flashcards turns marked passages into a review deck for actual retention. Previously, chapter recaps when resuming a book after a few days. Auto-themed clustering, group highlights across the book into a personal knowledge graph. Custom pronunciation lexicon fixes proper nouns, fantasy names via SSML. Azure supports this natively. Global highlight search across your whole library. And I guess it's thinking right now, so it's building that plan, and then we can come in here and say, I'm not going to do all of these, but we'll put a couple of more of these features into the plan. Here's the shape of it. Mark, AI audio reader with voice marking. Block decision. Active iOS, personal first, but architecture to go commercial. Text-to-speech now with Pervoke Azure Neural as a committed post MVP premium voice. Both mark triggers, user selectable, and all AI features. Keystone. A single engine agnostic timing map fed by the Apple Word boundary callbacks now and Azure Word timestamps later. So the plus or minus 15-second mark. Window resolves to an editable text range anchored on Radium CFI locators. Purest flag early. Acoustic echo cancellation so the wake word mic doesn't trigger on the app's own narration. I scheduled it as a spike one before committing to wake word and MVP with a tap first fallback. Map 3D risking spikes, MVP, test flight to your friend, Azure Premium Voice, AI features, and then sync CarPlay, AI features, smart sentence, yeah, all that. A couple of things I deliberately left as deferred open questions, final app name, the exact wake phrase, and the LLM provider for AI features. Okay, and then if you're paying attention, you see on the right screen, it actually pulled up the document. So this is something that I really like using the IDE over the terminal instance, is because it'll actually pull up these documents, right? So I told it to write this document. If you don't tell it to write this document, it's going to come up with this plan. It's going to save it into this context window, which is the left, but it's not going to save the plan, right? So I always like to have it write out as detailed of a plan as possible, and then I want to save it in our working directory so that when I come back, if I can pick up wherever I want. Right, because I can say, hey, look at the code, evaluate. If I were to lose this context window, which sometimes I have, if I lose that context window, I lose the plan, and then it doesn't know exactly where we're at. But yeah, I can always come back to this plan and say, hey, check out this plan, check out where we're at, and let's pick up from there, right? And then it'd read the plan, read the code, compare where we're at. So yeah, check this out. It's really cool. Architecture overview. Goes through all of that. I'm not going to read through this whole plan with you. I'm not sure if that's a great use of your time, but it's just synthesizing, summarizing, and being detailed on everything we just put into it, right? Like it's got these functions here for MVP that it's calling out. The plus or minus n second window, so n being a variable, we can have the user define how many it is, and then it'll auto snap to the sentences essentially, acoustic echo cancellation, trigger models, EPUB highlighting, background data model, so we're going to do switch, feature scope, and then it's going to go through all the features here. It's just super detailed milestones, echo cancellation, timing that, MVP. So I'm going to say yes, auto accept the edit. Off on any implementation per your instruction. I always give it that instruction. I personally don't like when it makes a plan and then just literally jumps into it, because I like to take my time to think about the plan, read it. That's, everyone gets to decide what they want to do, so that's not even the order that you have to do it. Okay, so quick recap of what's locked in. Native iOS, personal first, test flight, architected to grow commercial. Apple TTS now, Azure Neural as a committed per book premium voice later. About $7 for a full book, depending on the book. Both mark triggers, all AI features plus extra. The keystone is the engine agnostic timing map. The top risk, mic hearing, the app-to-own narration is de-risk first in Spike 1. A few things I deliberately left open for when you are ready to build. The final app name, exact wake phrase, LLM. Then for here, I'm just going to tell it. Okay, for final app name, I actually like Echo Mark for now. This is just pre-production, so that doesn't need to be polished. I'm sure we can change that in the future if we want. Exact wake phrase, I want you to come up with something. Tell me what you think would be good. For LLM provider for the AI features, yeah, let's just do Claude for now. And then Apple developer account. Okay, and I need to set up an Apple developer account. So this is interesting. My recommendation is Echo Mark, the name of the app that it came up with. Reasoning, because there's a non-obvious trap unique to this app. The wake phrase must be something the narration itself would never say out loud. The app is literally reading prose through the speaker into the same room as the listening mic. That makes sense. If the wake phrase is a common word or phrase, the audiobook can trigger its own mark. That would be bad. That immediately disqualifies the obvious candidates. Echo Mark wins because the two-word compound essentially never occurs in natural book prose. It's on brand with the name of the app. 4 syllables, phonetically distinct, natural to say, hands-free while driving. 2 solid backups, bookmark it. Okay, so here's what I would say. Well, for the backups, why don't you include that in the markdown file that you already made? So make sure that markdown file is saved in the working directory. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. You'll do this yourself, but here's the clean. Yeah, so when you finish enrolling, save the Apple ID login in your one. So 1Password. For all my personal stuff, I use the password app that Apple gives. I think it's fantastic. But for all of my developing thing, I don't want a bazillion passwords in there. And some things get used in various accounts, like maybe something like Supabase would be used in 70% of my projects or something, right? So I'm 70% of my passwords in that instance, they're not even my passwords. They're for the project I'm working on, and then I don't touch the project again. So I use 1Password. because it lets you create several vaults, right? So I have a vault for each project, no matter how big or how small. Maybe it's only one password. I have others where maybe I've got API keys in it, right? So anytime I'm working on a project, I create a new vault in one password. And so that's what that's talking about. And then everything is searchable and nice, and it doesn't clutter my personal Apple password app. So let's see, all locked in the plan, summary of where we went, as your action item in section 12. So we don't even need to be going over that. Nothing else is blocking whenever you're ready. To do these carriage returns in here, if you just click enter, it's going to send it. I do shift enter to bring that down. I like to format it a little bit. I have another question for you. As far as the development, do you get started now, or do I need to download anything on my Mac before we get started? So this is my first time doing something Mac specific, I guess. You're learning with me. I get paid to do IA automations on Upwork. I need to send that in. So I get paid to do this stuff, I guess, and this is the first time I'm doing it. Once you know the basics about how to set up a project in code and debug with AI, it's going to be, it's a lot easier than probably what you think it is. Adding the backup phrases, putting the markdown. I, in the actual working directory right now, only lives in the plan. Oh, yeah, see, here it is. For some reason it hadn't saved it in that working directory. So when you are working on this, AI is not going to get it right the first time, right? So Xcode app. So Xcode is what we need to build in Xcode, not found in applications. This goes back to hey, do I need to download anything? I was pretty sure I needed to download Xcode. I don't know if I have enough. So I might have to pause the video and get that solved. I've only got a Mac Mini. So I have a Mac Mini M2, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of memory. A full Xcode app is not installed, but we have Swift and command line tools. The command line tools you have are enough for command line Swift, but building a native iOS app requires the full Xcode app. That's the one and only blocker. Get it from the Mac App Store. It's free. It's a large download plus 10. Yeah, I'm really close to that. I think I'm going to have to go delete some stuff. The good news on the developer account: you do not need the paid Apple developer account to start coding. I think we only need that for commercial. I'm pretty sure we can build it, load it into our phone as a developer, and we can do that later. We can build and run EchoMark in the iOS simulator with a free Apple ID. An obvious caveat for sequencing: I have a real iPhone, so that's not a problem. Enroll the developer account in parallel, a few hours to 2 days to be. Geez, that's gonna. I always hate when you run into set up this account, but it'll take a minute. That happened with me on Amazon Web Services for an engineering AI project I was doing. By the time we hit Spike 1, you'll have a device plus account ready for Google. So install Xcode and we can spike. I'm going to pause the video right here. I'm going to go fix my memory and download Xcode, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I am back. That took way longer than it needed to. I definitely need to get a better computer. Mac Mini, 256 gigs of storage, 8 gigs of RAM. Crazy what you can actually do with that. But now I am kind of hitting the limits. I ended up having to just put an external drive on it. But then I had to reformat the drive because it was in NFTs. It was an old drive I had around. So, alright. I also already installed Xcode. So, I have installed Xcode and would like to proceed. That's all you have to do. Pretty crazy. That I just switched to auto mode. I really like auto mode because it's not going to ask me to run permission to run every single snippet of code, right? So it's only going to do the ones it deems dangerous. So depending on how much you trust it, that can decrease the amount of monotonous input you're inputting into the large language model, but if you want to have that level of control, where you're approving every single command, reading every command, it does that as well. It actually can do a dangerously skip permissions on this as well. I don't typically do that. I have done it a couple times. really kind of depends. Okay, toolchain is active, but a freshly installed Xcode hasn't pulled down the iOS. Well, I just downloaded it and the licenses these two, and the license that needs your password, so I can't do it here. Let me confirm this. I guess I probably just need to actually open up Xcode because I have not done that yet. Okay, please run this command in your terminal. I'm just going to be like, please run that command for me. Like sometimes, pretty much all the time, it'll like, hey, run this code, but like it can run it and then you just have to give it permission. So, okay, I guess that's what it was saying. So that was my mistake. I guess I will open up a terminal. And it's because it needs the password, so I guess that makes sense. So let's see. There we go. That ran successfully. I entered my password. That's asking for my password again on my other screen, so you're not going to see that. Looks like it needs to download something else from Xcode. Okay, I am back. I figured out what was wrong. My video stopped because I ran out of disk space again. So looks like I need to upgrade my computer. Okay, so this came through, says, passed all 7 checks. Says that, Claude itself verified the build, launch, UI, but then says you should do it manually, right? Shows where the code lives. And then says there's just pretty much one step left for Spike 0. That's just this first pass, right? So here's Xcode emulating an iPhone. I haven't even looked at this yet. I was just going to double check. 8 gigs of RAM, so it looks like that's kind of limiting here. Let me try this. Let's see. I clicked play, I'm not hearing anything. I clicked stop, it's taking a while. Oh, okay, interesting.
A hare was making fun of the tortoise one day for being so slow. Do you ever get anywhere? Asked with a mocking laugh. Replied the tortoise, and I get there sooner than you think. I will run you a race and prove it. The hare was much amused, but agreed. A hare was making fun of the tortoise one day for being so slow. Do you ever get anywhere? He asked with a mocking laugh. Yes, replied the tortoise, and I...
Okay, so this isn't terrible. This is a good first pass, but like I clicked on do you ever, and it captured before, but maybe not after. Also, the Apple text to voice kind of sucks. Hopefully they can fix that. Okay, so I'm just going to come here. It's pretty cool when you think about it, like that it's emulating that to capture all this thing here. Yeah, that looks like a good first pass. When I clicked echo mark, it probably marked like the 15 seconds before, but it didn't. I don't think that it marked the 15 seconds after. The captured mark also does not appear in the highlights pane when I move to the highlights pane. And I think that's it for now. Other than that, let's go ahead and I would like you to investigate that, fix that if there's anything that needs to be fixed. And then I'd like you to finish Spike 0, where we integrate readium, so it reads a real imported EPUB instead of the sample passage. That's cool. I am going to check that out. It's still thinking. Like, so one thing I've noticed that I think is really cool about this is I think that AI, a lot of people are worried about it taking their jobs, and it's definitely going to do that to some extent. But Google did the same thing when it came out, right? Others did the same thing when they started being affordable to businesses. It's creative destruction, so it's going to create jobs, it's going to destroy some jobs. It's hard to say exactly if it's going to create more or the same number of jobs that it destroys. But either way, there are going to be jobs that are created. In fact, I have proof of that because I work AI jobs on Upwork. I think what it's going to do is it's going to redefine productivity. So, for example, I'm working one task on Upwork, it's $25 an hour. I'm actually like teaching someone some AI stuff, so this has to be a serial task. Think about it, if I could collect 3 jobs that were $25 an hour, and I can have each one working in parallel, then I could be making $75 an hour. See here, like I'm not even doing anything right now, like I'm just letting the AI, letting Claude run the checks that I talked about. Look, it even flagged it, exactly limitation, I flagged the spike 2, you want it now, so I'll implement forward window finalization. Yeah, marked. Yeah. So it actually, you know, it went through, debugged it, said, hey, I actually flagged this for you, but you weren't paying attention. So, you know, that was my fault. It's going to go ahead and add those right now, then it'll integrate Reading. While it's doing that, I could be working on another task, right? If this is a $25 an hour task that I get from online, I could be working another $25 an hour task. And I could probably be working 3 or 4 of them at the same time. You could probably potentially bump your pay from $25 an hour up to $100 an hour, and you didn't really change anything except that your productivity was redefined because you're not working one task in serial now. You're working 3 or 4 tasks in serial in parallel. So I don't know. I think that's going to happen. I really like that. You know, I mean I like the money that I make at my W-2, but I have like a certain vision of life that I want for not only myself but for my family, and I don't think my W-2 will take me to that, right? So if you can figure out a way to, you know, redefine your productivity so that you can take on 3 or 4 like lower paying jobs, I mean, now you're making 4x what you may have been making. My little tangent, so just gonna just let it run. Then, you know, there's plenty of spaces in this video where I'm not really saying much, so those will probably just all be cut out using AI. Shorten it down and keep the important stuff. After much tribulation, I am back. I didn't think you'd want to see an hour's worth of coding. It took a while longer than it needed to because the internet was being slow for the repos that it had to download. But literally all it did was made those changes that we talked about, and then it added Readium so that we can actually read in EPUBs now. So I'm about to test that live with you. Haven't tested it yet. If I go to this download, and then I think I can just click and drag one of these. Try it. Allow.
Happy birthday, Dad!
This is just a test EPUB. This is something I downloaded from the internet.
I get you chubby hole.
Alright, so we're going to go back to Echo Mark.
Why, sir?
Gutenberg ebook of the yellow wallpaper. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. Title: The Yellow Wallpaper. Author: Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Release date: November 1st, 1999. Ebook.
It worked. Try another one. Let's go browse. So let me do this again. Alice in Wonderland. Save. Echo Mark.
Gutenberg ebook of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www. Are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. Title: Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Author: Lewis Carroll. Release date: June 27, 2000.
Okay, so our initial thing works. There's plenty of things we gotta keep doing to this. I'm gonna put that in a different video though. Anyways, what we've done is we've taken an idea from almost idea creation. My friend has a problem. We came up with it. He actually came up with this idea, and then I just had the idea to kind of code it up. So took it from that state. We planned it out. You know, I had to download Xcode, fix my space issue, but then Claude was able to code everything up. It troubleshooted a couple things, added a couple things, gave us some test books to put in here, and things are starting to look nice and working. So anyways, thanks for checking out my very first YouTube video, and especially on AI automation. So I'm excited to put this out there, and you know, kind of we'll see what happens. So thank you.